Hello friends, good morning. Today we will discuss on the topic of irrigation. After sowing of seeds, irrigation is the most important things for a germination of seeds and growth of crop. Now first we have to understand what is the source of water. The majorly source of water available either for agriculture or for human consumption is obtained from the precipitation in the forms of rainfall and snowfall. Runoff from precipitation drains through streams and rivers or collect in surface dispersion from forming tank or ponds. Now water of streams stored in the reservoir or is diverted directly through the channel system for irrigation. Runoff water stored in the tank or ponds is also regulated for the irrigation through suitable conveniency system of rainfall is stored as a ground water is like percolation and infiltration. It is the only after the soil has absorbed water to field capacity at upper limit of available water into the soil at a 1/3 bar. The water start the percolating down to the water tables added to ground water reservoir as downward movement of the water. Now we have to understand what is the function of water. Ecological important is first things, the distribution of vegetation over the surface of earth is controlled by the availability of water than any other single factor. It heavy rainfall area fuse vegetation is like a forest is observed. Now second thing is physiological importance. The ecological importance of the water is result of the physiological importance is only depend on the ecological importance. Then it is the constituent of the protoplasm. Water is important quantitatively as qualitatively constituent 80 to 90% of fresh weight of most herbaceous plant part and 50% of the fresh weight of woody plant. Then after it is a very good solvent like water act as a solvent in which gases, minerals like plant nutrient, NPK, calcium, magnesium, sulfur and other micronutrient is also involved and other solution and dissolved plant nutrient are absorbed by plant through soil solution. It act as a carrier of the foods nutrients. Now उसके बाद आएगा reagent. एक माध्यम बन के वाटर एक्ट करता है एज ए रिएजेंट इन मैनी इंपॉर्टेंट प्रोसेस सच एज ए फोटोसिंथेसिस एंड हाइड्रोलिसिस ऑफ स्टार्च एंड sugar synthesis. It maintain turgidity of plant. Maintenance of turgidity is most important for stomachaal activity. Stomach बंद होना और खुलना उस एक्टिविटी में turgidity बहुत ध्यान रखिए. Important things opening of the stomata, movement of the leaves, flowers and petals, etc. It controls the temperature of the plants and also major plant part of the plant body. Now classification of soil water. First one is hygroscopic water, second one is capillary water, third one is gravitational water and last is water vapor. From that hygroscopic water involves the adhesion force, then capillary water is including the cohesion force. Now first one is hygroscopic water. It is that part of the soil water which is very tightly held on the surface of soil particles through a adhesion force and it mostly in vapor forms and force with the which is held on surface of soil particles is estimated about 10,000 atmospheric pressure toward the inner side and about 31 atmosphere at the outer side of the hygroscopic water field. This water is considered to be unavailable water from the most of field crop like jowar, bajra, maize, sorghum and other cereals and pulses as like also oilseeds crop involved. Now capillary water, the water which is held in the soil between field capacity and hygroscopic coefficient in macropores and tension between 0.1 to 31 atmospheric pressure. This water move from the area of the higher tension to area of the lower tension. When the soil particles absorb water even after the hygroscopic coefficient is reached and additional water is also held around the particles in the forms thin film, the plant food nutrients are dissolved in it, and therefore it is the most useful water for plant. Here most important things in capillary water is the water moves from the area of higher tension to the lower tension. Now gravitational water, water in excess to the field capacity is termed as a gravitational water. This water started moving as a free water throughout the micropores and it is called gravitational water. Only a micropores involved in the gravitational water. For the saturated tank, it is the part of the soil water which move freely in the response to gravity and drain out of the soil. This water has a little use for a plant. Gravitational water is loosely held at less than 0.1 to 0.3 atmospheric tension. Now last one is water vapor. This is not important for a irrigation purpose. It is the category the water is present in the gaseous form in the soil atmosphere, but it is not directly used by plant. We can use water vapor through giving some treatment, and it is therefore not important unlike the first three kind. Comparatively, three phases we seen above is in compare that water vapor is not important. Now absorption and movement of water in soil. The movement of water from the soil surface into and through the soil is called as a water intake. It is the expression of the several factors including infiltration and like percolation is also involved. Now first we have to understand what is the infiltration. Infiltration is the entry of water into the soil surface. Like in the applied the process of water entry into the soil generally, but not necessarily through the soil surface and vertically downward. The process is great practically importance since in the rate of determining the amount of runoff over the soil surface. Only soil surface में water absorb होगा, moisturize होगा, वो है infiltration. In the other words, infiltration rate refers to the entry of water into the soil surface. Infiltration is surface characteristic of the soil. Now infiltration rate, it is the most important things after the infiltration. When the flow is non-diversion, then movement of water is top, then it is known as an infiltration rate. It is the maximum rate of which water enter from the surface to the soil when the flow is non-diversion. Initially the infiltration rate is more, but afterward it decreases because the soil get wet. Now third one is percolation, downward movement of the water into the soil at a saturated pores. Saturated pores like when it become first micropores and then after micropores both pores filled with water, that time saturated pores is created. Now factor affecting the rate of infiltration. First one is compactness of soil surface, second one is impact of raindrop, both the important things, and then after soil covers, soil wetness, soil temperature, soil texture, depth of soil. On these factors depend on water leach into the soil is more importantly. Soil surface with vegetative cover has more infiltration rate. If vegetative cover, vegetative growth is more, infiltration rate is also higher. In wetness, soil wetness में if soil is wet, moisturized soil होगी तो उसमें infiltration rate कम हो जाएगा. But soil is dry तो उसमें infiltration rate ज़्यादा देखने को मिलेगा. Soil temperature, warm soil absorb more water than the cold soil. Soil texture is also involved in the texture of the soil. Is porous texture soil, infiltration rate is more as compared to the heavy soil. In porous texture soil, the number of macropores and micropores is more. Depth of soils, shallow soils permit less water to enter into soil than to deep soil. Now उसके बाद आएगा type of pump. Different type of pump involved for the irrigation water to the field for a plant germination and plant growth, and also the fertility, maintain the fertility of soil. Basically four principles involved in pumping water. First one is atmospheric pressure, positive displacement, centrifugal force, movement of columns of the water caused by the difference in the specific gravity. Here are some characteristics which involve for the pumping system. Without this characteristic, our pumping is not very well functioning. First one is capacity, how much capacity for the pump to transfer water from the one place to another place. स्टैटिक जंक्शन हेड, स्टैटिक डिस्चार्ज हेड, पानी एक जगह से दूसरी जगह पे लेने के लिए कितना टाइम लगता है और कितना फ्लो एक जगह दूसरी जगह पे डिस्चार्ज करता है, वो भी इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग है. टोटल जंक्शन हेड, टोटल डिस्चार्ज हेड, फ्रैक्शनल हेड, प्रेशर हेड, वेलोसिटी हेड, नेट पॉजिटिव जंक्शन हेड, NPSH we can tell in shortly, maximum particle section lift of the pumps, water hours, water horsepowers, shaft horsepowers and brake horsepowers. Then last one is efficiency. Now from that, first one is the centrifugal pump. It may be defined as the one in which an impeller rotating inside closed fitting is drawn in the liquid as center, and by virtue of the centrifugal force throughout the liquid through an opening at the side of casing. We will understand through the photograph. Here all the structure of centrifugal pump which is involving different part involving in the centrifugal pump. Here discharge nozzle and impeller is the most important things for the pumping. Seals, shaft, oil rings and suction nozzle is the basically things which is important for the moving one place to another place water. Then here we can easily understand with the impeller involvement, volute casing, discharge, venue and suction eyes impeller. Here this is a centrifugal pump system which we are using our home basis for take water from the ground to the upper side. Now principle of the operation is centrifugal pump is rotatory machinery consisting of two basic parts, rotatory element of impeller or a impeller, stationary element or a casing. Now second pump is a vertical turbine pump. Vertical turbine pump, deep well turbine pump is a vertical axis centrifugal or mixed flow type pump comparing a stage which accommodate rotating impeller and stationary below the passing guides venue. Here they have a higher initial cost and are more difficult to install any place to any other place, and it also a difficult for a repairing or a maintenance. The pressure head developed by the single impeller is not great. Additionally, we have to add other impeller with the motor throughout the obtained by editing more blow assembly or other stages. Now that like is looking vertical turbine pump. Here third one is a submersible pump which we are using for mostly in agriculture practices through in well or in a bore. And vertical turbine pump close coupled to the small diameter submersible electric motor is termed as a submersible pump. The motor is fixed directly below the intake of the pump. The pump element and the motor operate under submerged condition. Like मोटर को हम पानी के अंदर डाल देंगे और उसमें से पानी खींचेंगे. जैसे हमने सेंट्रीफ्यूगल पंप में देखा कि मोटर बाहर रख के एक पाइप पानी के अंदर है, दूसरी पाइप बाहर है, तो वाटर इनटेक होगा और वाटर बाहर फ्लो होगा. वो है एक सेंट्रीफ्यूगल पंप. उससे थोड़ा डिफरेंट सबमर्सिबल पंप, उसको हम पानी के अंदर रखेंगे और पानी डायरेक्टली उसमें से मोटर के थ्रू बाहर खींचेंगे और नो एडिशनली मूवमेंट इज रिक्वायर्ड. Here we can easily understand which type of pump is a submersible pump. We are using in mostly our agricultural practices for a bore and tube well. Irrigation water measurement through something different type. First one is where generally requirement for the setting and the operation of weirs. Properly constructed and installed weirs proved most accurate device for the measuring flow. पानी कितना देना है और कब तक देना है वो हम वेयर से नक्की डिसाइड कर सकते हैं. However, improper setting and operation may result in large error is discharge measurement with the wires. Now, precaution which is necessary for the functioning of weir is the first one is the weir should be set as lower end of the long pool sufficiently wide and deep of the fire smooth flow having velocity less than 15 cm per second. Waffle may be put in wire pond to the reduced velocity. The wire swells must be vertical, not leaning to the upstreams or downstreams. The center lines of the wire should be parallel to the direction of flow. जो flow है उसके साथ parallel उसका wire होना चाहिए. Now the crest of the wire should be level so that the water passing over it will be of same depth and all point along the crest. Notch should be a regular shape and it as must be ridged and straight. The wire crest should be above the bottoms of the approach channels. The crest of the wires is placed higher enough so that water will be fall freely below wire. Now some limitation which are used in wire are not always suitable for the measuring flow. हर बार हम पानी का फ्लो है वो मेजर करने के लिए वायर ओनली यूज नहीं कर सकते. दे आर नॉट accurate unless the proper condition and maintained. They require a considerable loss of the head which is mostly not available in channels on the flag rail. Then wires are not suitable for the water carrying silt. Wires are not easily combined with the turnout structures. Now second one is partial flume, which is most important in our area for the measuring of water and how much water we have to give and how much time we have to flow the water is easily measured through a partial flume. The partial flume is the fixed hydraulic structure originally developed by the measure surface water and irrigation force, like this type of structure which we are using for the measurement of water, like is known as a partial flume. Is a development of the partial flume. Partial flume began in 1915 by the Dr. Ralph L. Parshall of the US Soil Conservation Services. Using the subcritical Venturi flume as his starting points, Dr. Parshall introduced the several radical modifications with his improved Venturi flumes. The most great of the which was the drop in elevation through the throat of the flumes. The drops produced the supercritical flow through the throat of the flumes. Now submerged orifice. Third one is a orifice which is also useful for the measuring of irrigation water. An orifice used as a measuring device is a well defined sharp edge opening in the wells or a buckets through which flow occurs. Now for the irrigation use, orifices are commonly circular or rectangular in shape and are generally placed in vertical surface perpendicular to the direction of canal's flow. A submerged orifice and the same orifice discharging freely have nearly the same coefficient of the discharge. However, the submerged orifice require head measurement upstreams and downstreams also, as we discussed in upper side. Drip irrigation and sprinkler irrigation. Nowadays, most important things for save the water. In drip irrigation, we can save approximately 60 to 70% of total water. It is the term as trickle irrigation also and can be defined as slow and frequent application of the water to the plant root zone under low pressure. The drip irrigation is an advanced method of the irrigation suitable for the water scarcity areas. Is used as water very economically and efficient. It applied the correct quantity of the water to the plant at the root zone through a network of the tubing. Here the design of the drip system is simple. The requirement are pipes, accessories and other equipment. This method can be very well adapted for the wide space crop like coconut, mango, sapota, banana. And nowadays it is also useful in cereals and pulses crop and also for a cotton, castor. Here some structure for the drip irrigation system. Through the well system, we can absorb water from the well through the pump and by pass value NRI valve which standing here we can control. Sand separator, hygrocyclone, then screen filter, venturi, sand filter is also important things for the drip irrigation system. If we are not using this sand filter, we can't able to generate the drip irrigation system. Here against NRV valves, then main line, submain line, lateral line, then after dripper or a emitter is causes. Now drip irrigation system component and their function. Here involved first component is filter. It is the heart of the drip irrigation. Without filter, we can't opening or we can't functioning the drip irrigation system. The filter unit clean the suspended impellers in the irrigation water so as to prevent blockage of the hose and passage of drip nozzle. The type of filtration needed depend on the water quantity and emitter types. A two-stage filter unit is usually needed. फर्स्ट वन इज ग्रेवल फिल्टर मीन्स सैंड फिल्टर, जो सैंड टाइप के पार्टिकल्स है उसको फिल्टर करके पानी आगे जाना देना है तो उसके लिए यूज होता है वो ग्रेवल फिल्टर, उसको बोलते हैं सैंड फिल्टर. दिस फिल्टर आर इफेक्टिवली अगेंस्ट इनऑर्गेनिक सस्पेंडेड सॉलिड बायोलॉजिकल सब्सटेंस एंड अदर ऑर्गेनिक मटेरियल्स. ग्रेवल फिल्टर कंसिस्ट ऑफ द स्मॉल basalt gravels or the sand, usually 1 to 2 mm in diameter, placed in a cylindrical tank made for a metal. The clean water is discharged at the bottom. Now second one is screen filter. These are installed with or without gravel filter depending upon the quality of water. The screens are usually cylindrical shape and are made for the non-corrosive metal or a plastic material. Third one is a disc filter. The filtration element are grover plastic discs which are filled together around the telescope course and according to the desired degree of the filtration. Both sides of the disc are grover and the grooves cross each other when pails pleed up and the frigand together. उसके बाद आएगा कि मेन लाइन. इन फिल्टर के बाद मेन लाइन में द मेन लाइन कन्वेज द वाटर फ्रॉम द फिल्ट्रेशन सिस्टम टू द सब मेन लाइन. दे आर नॉर्मली मेड फॉर द रीड्स PVC pipe, polyvinyl pipe and pipe in order to minimize corrosive and clogging. Their diameter is based on the system flow capacity. The velocity of the flow in the main should not be greater than 1.5 meter per second. Now उसके बाद आएगा सब मेन लाइन. Filter, main line, then submain line. The submain line conveys the water main line to the lateral. They are also buried in the ground below 2 to 2.5 and the made for the reeds PVC. Now lateral line are small diameter fixable pipes or a tubing made of the low density polyethylene LDP or a liner low density polyethylene means LLDPA and of 12 mm, 60 mm and 20 mm in size. Then after emitter or a dripper, which is most important to irrigate plant or crop near the cropping system. It is the main component of drip irrigation system for discharging water from the lateral to the soil. They are made for the plastic such as a polyethylene or a polypropylene. The drippers can be classified according to working principle, discharge type, structure, working pressure, designation, turbidity, regulator and non-regulator discharge, control valves and flush valve. That is the next things. Then air releases, non-return valves, pressure gauge, filtration system. Filtration system is also useful in the drip irrigation system. Through the filtration system we can irrigate or we can give fertilizer through the irrigation, means fertigation. It is the use for air the chemical irrigation water. However, fertigation is not free or hazardous. Chemicals adds to the water may be toxic for a human. So begins animals, so safeguards must be taken to the prevent backflow of irrigation water into the water sources which might be used for the drink purpose. Now some advantage of drip irrigation: maximum use of available water, then no water began available to weeds, maximum crop yields, higher efficiency in the use of fertilizer, less weed growth, low labor and relatively low operation, no soil erosion, improve infiltration and percolation, no runoff of the fertilizers into groundwater, less evaporation, improve seed germination, decrease to tillage operation. Then after disadvantage of drip irrigation, it is somewhat less than important. It's split of the fact that drip irrigation has many potential benefits, likewise sensitivity of the clogging, moisture distribution problem, salinity hazards, high cost component to the furrow, high skill is required for the functioning of drip irrigation system. नाउ उसके बाद आएगा स्प्रिंकलर इरिगेशन सिस्टम. इट इज ऑल्सो ए मोस्ट यूजफुल फॉर द इरिगेशन टू द फील्ड, बट नॉट मोर देन ए ड्रिप इरिगेशन सिस्टम. In sprinkler irrigation, it is a overhead irrigation. We spray the water through nozzle under pressure over the soil and crop. We will understand. We can understand easily through the photograph. Here also the main lines which involve the submain line. Then after lateral line के मुताबिक यहाँ पे एक सीधी एक पाइप खड़ी करेंगे, उसके ऊपर ड्रिपर लगाएंगे. तो वो ड्रिपर शुरू होने के बाद यूनिफॉर्मली वाटर हम सब प्लांट को दे सकते हैं. उसमें डिफरेंट टाइप के फिल्टर आते हैं और डिफरेंट टाइप के ड्रिपर्स आते हैं. उसकी वजह से हम यूनिफॉर्मली वाटर एक प्लेस से दूसरा प्लेस तक इजीली कर सकते हैं. और प्लेस हमको पहले नक्की करना चाहिए कि ये 4 रो है, 4 रो तक पानी यूनिफॉर्मली पहुंच जाता है ये ड्रिपर के मुताबिक. तो 4 रो पहले, उसके बाद 4 रो और दोनों के बीच में एक ड्रिपर लाइन हम खड़ी करेंगे. तो यूनिफॉर्मली वो 8 रो है, तो उसका वाटर अच्छी तरह से यूनिफॉर्मली मिल जाएगा. Now adaptability of sprinkler irrigation. Sprinkler irrigation can be used for the almost all crop except rice and jute only. It is not usually suitable in very fine texture soil, heavy clay soil, where infiltration rate are less than 4 mm per hour. Now component which use in sprinkler system. First one is pumping set, which is also involving drip irrigation. The pump usually lift the water from the sources as push is through the distribution system and the sprinkler irrigation. Then after same like as drip irrigation, main line is also involved in the sprinkler irrigation. Then lateral line, sprinkler heads, debris screen, desilting basin, then booster pumps, take off valves, then flow control valves, fertilizer application is also important things in sprinkler irrigation. Through the sprinkler irrigation we can give the fertilizer is known as a fertigation, and uniformly we can distribute the fertilizer for the crop germination and crop growth, and we can easily take a higher production and higher yield. The type of sprinkler system, there is a basically 9 types. In the 9 types, first of the arrangement of spraying irrigation water, 2 types is involving rotating head system and perforated pipe system. Then based on the portability, sprinkler system are classified into 5 types: portable system, semi-portable system, semi-permanent system, and solid state system, permanent system. Now some advantages of sprinkler irrigation. It is suitable for the complete range of the topographics and field dimension. कई जगह ऊंची नीची होगी तो वहाँ पे भी हम यूनिफॉर्मली वाटर इरिगेशन कर सकेंगे थ्रू स्प्रिंकलर इरिगेशन बाय द यूनिफॉर्मली वाटर इरिगेशन. हाई इरिगेशन एफिशिएंसी ड्यू टू द यूनिफॉर्म डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन ऑफ वाटर एज वी डिस्कस्ड. Accurate and easy measurement of water applied. Land leveling is not essential in the sprinkler irrigation. No interfere with the movement of the farm's machinery. Can be used protect of crop against the high temperature. Easy to operate. Operator may be trained quickly. Sprinkler are also used to irrigation high value plantation crop like coffee, cardamom and orchard crop. Some limitation of the sprinkler irrigation. इट रिक्वायर हाई इनिशियल इन्वेस्टमेंट. शुरुआत में जो हमको ये अपनाना है, स्प्रिंकलर इरिगेशन है, ड्रिप इरिगेशन है, तो शुरुआत में उसका कॉस्ट ज़्यादा लगेगा. मगर वो एक बार सिस्टम हमारे खेत में लगा दी, बाद में 3-4 साल तक हमको कोई अदर कॉस्ट नहीं आएगा. तो शुरुआत में उसका कॉस्ट है ज़्यादा, मगर बाद में उसका बेनिफिट बहुत है. इट रिक्वायर हाई इनिशियल इन्वेस्टमेंट. Power requirement is usually high since sprinklers operator with more than 0.5 kg per centimeter square water pressure. Fine texture soil that have a low infiltration rate cannot be irrigated efficiently in host wildy area. Loss of water due to the evaporation. The water must be clean and free of the sand, debris and large amount of dissolved salt. Ripening of the soap fruit must be protected from the spray. Thank you very much.